My name is Ilan Rubin, play drums for Nine Inch Nails, Angels and Airwaves, and I write, play, and sing everything in the new regime. I started playing music at a very young age, probably about 7.5, 8 years old, and the drums were my first instrument. Something that I'm extremely proud of is an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Nine Inch Nails. That is something that will mean something to me till the end. I've had a great time playing with the Emulator II V. I love kind of diving through all the sounds. So generally, when I play with any sort of synthesizer, VST, whatever it may be, I just gravitate towards the low end of the spectrum. Love playing with synth basses, so that's the first thing I did. I also like setting these things up to have a percussive element. So I built this whole track pretty much based off of a bass line using this sound. And what was fun diving through the multiple bass presets is that I found quite a few of them that played really well together. I first got started with Arturia products, I want to say about 2012. I don't know if that was the V Collection 3 or 4, I'm not sure, but at the time it seemed like, it still is, an incredible bang for the buck. And considering I was doing a ton of touring and I couldn't really bring any hardware with me, I chose to dive into Arturia at that point in time, and I haven't looked back since. And after exploring the synth-based side of this thing, I wanted to kind of see what the whole drum aspect of it was. So I had a good time building a beat using different presets, some stuff for the hi-hats, some banks had great hi-hats and great kick drums, using 3 different banks of drum sounds. I was able to come up with something fun. So you can see that it's got some nice punch to it, it's got some retro feel. I find inspiration from a number of places. I mean, very simply, if it's not coming from anything external, I love sitting down with instruments, effects, software, whatever it may be, and 99 times out of 100, a sound or the feel of an instrument will inspire an idea. Here's a sound that I used to kind of build a sort of sequence. I generally like to play my sequences and then quantize them rather than programming note for note. So in experimenting with this plugin, I would just layer things either every 4 bars or every 8 bars. So I mean, starting from the top, you'll hear the main bass, some percussion, an extra bass, and then that melody that I was just playing. So let's take a listen to that. There's a pretty broad scope of the sounds this thing makes. I love a lot of the bass sounds. I love a lot of the percussive stuff that you would program a sequence with or use with the arpeggiator. And there's a lot of delicate, airy pads, some fun voices, things that really just remind you of a lot of stuff that you've heard using the original. So I really see myself using it on a whole myriad of things. I use the Arturia stuff both for sound design and just getting that sound from those instruments in terms of being authentic. I like really just experimenting and scrolling through presets to see what the instruments are capable of. And then once I'm familiar with what the scope of the instrument is, I love going to the initialized presets and building things from scratch. I think that's what makes electronic instruments or models of electronic instruments as fascinating as they are, because you really start from the most minor building block and take things to levels that maybe you didn't know were possible, but one thing leads to another, and where you started and where you ended up with are worlds apart, and that's that thing that kind of keeps calling me back to see what else I could do with the same instrument. And the fact that there are so many of them now, it's kind of a never-ending exploration.